Hello and welcome to another video with me, Esther from Gather and Create. Today I have been playing with free stamps from Creative Stamping magazine. It's issue 81 here in the UK and it comes with this gorgeous set of stamps by Pink Fresh Studio. It has flowers and leaves and sprigs and sentiments and stems and well, a whole heap of inspiration for you to use there already on the back of the magazine and inside the magazine, but I thought I would add some extra projects for you to play with if you're purchasing this magazine. So they all feature slightly different techniques. I've got a watercolour one. This one is heat embossed with die cutting. And this one has a distress oxide background and some heat embossing as well. So three quite different looks, all from the same stamp set. Just the tip of the iceberg really with what you can create. So the colours I'm using there are Faded Jeans, Victorian Velvet and a Squeezed Lemonade, and I'm just sponging over the background there. I did a Distress Oxide background card last week, so I'm just speeding this up. I will link that if you would like to have a go. This piece here measures 1.5 centimeters by 7. That's where the stamp, the sentiment is going to be stamped. And I sponged that in the Victorian Velvet as well. So I'm just showing you there. Use the embossing body, use the Versamark, and your Wow embossing powder is Neptune. So that's the background we just created. I've got my copier paper underneath to catch the embossing powder so we can return it to the pot. Go over it with your embossing body, which removes any sort of oily marks from your fingers, any residue that you might not be able to see but will have the embossing powder attached to the wrong places. So a good helping of Versamark clear embossing ink. It's quite a large stamp, so I'm taking my ink to the stamp, making sure it's all over because obviously you can't see, and then nice even pressure. So I'm keeping one hand on whilst I'm using the other hand to go all the way around to make sure all the corners and the centre are inked. Lift straight off, avoid twisting it, and now a nice dousing of that beautiful Neptune embossing powder. It's beautiful. Return all your powder to the pot. First I'm just dusting away any flecks that have gone where I don't want them to go. It's a little bit more tricky because there is gold in this particular one. Try not to actually flick the card itself, just use a small brush. The embossing body's already helped with that. It's particularly essential, say for example, if you were embossing black onto white or you know, more definite colours, because a fleck of embossing powder will be detrimental to your project. Don't rush this like I did, and you might want to just tip halfway and then it can settle, but obviously I'm on camera and I don't want to hang around too much. Put the lid back on. Do not want to be tipping over your embossing powder. Ask me how I know. Okay, so now we're going to take the heat tool to it. I'm heating up the heat tool a little bit first. And then that's going to be a matter of evenly going over that image. If you can see it goes shiny, I don't know how much you're going to be able to see that on camera, but it will be going shiny. As the plastics in that embossing powder start to melt. And then a little bit from the back as well. We'll speed this along a little bit. Just checking all the areas. That's done. We can add our sentiment now using Hero Art's Intensified Black. I've speeded through that a little bit, and I've gone on with wet glue. The sentiment I've raised up on foam pads just to add a bit more dimension. So the next one is the gold card. It's heat embossed again. Your card is 7 by 7 inch. It's a nice big size card. Your gold layer is 6.5 by 6.5. Your white layer is 6 by 6. And then I have also die cut some oval shapes there with a spare. So take your 6 by 6 layer, and that's what we're going to stamp onto. I'm using Versamark again. Sorry, it's a bit shadowy here. Back with the good old embossing buddy. And this time the embossing powder is Wow embossing powder again, but Sea Mist. So I'm centering up the stamp itself with the piece of card, and then I'm using the tip of the leaf to line up where I want the edge of the image to be, and that kind of gives me a bit of a point of reference for when I repeat the process on the other side of the card. Kind of winging it because I'm going to emboss it all in one go, so I can't exactly see where I've put the first one. I just have to hope for the best. So re-ink your stamp. Again, I'm using the tip of that leaf as my point of reference. Douse it with embossing powder, same process again. You can see the yellows are coming through on that. I've used the same technique to do gold embossing powder with that birthday wishes onto one of the ovals. That gets glued onto the base. So now the last one is that watercolour technique. Hero Art's black ink. Then we have Wilted Violet and Lucky Clover, and I didn't bring my, yes I did bring my yellow, Mustard Seed. Use your water brush. So to stamp your flowers, you're going to need 2 2 flowers, 2 lots of leaves. I know I've stamped 3. Apologies about being slightly off camera. I just stamped the sentiment there. And I'm going to use my medium matte as my paint palette. So my flower is in Wilted Violet. Its centre is in Mustard Seed, and then the leaves are in the Lucky Clover. See me, I'm so sorry. That's the flower centre. And it's just going to be a colour wash over it. That was a little bit dark, so I should have just added some water, but it'll be fine. Moves around really well. I'm not worried about going over the lines because this is going to get fussy cut out. You can literally throw that colour on. Just going over the lines, defining it a little bit more. So I've just gone on to ink, which is pretty dry, just to get those edges a little bit more defined. You could obviously use your alcohol markers for this as well, or your pencils. Just going over that a little bit more. And obviously it always dries lighter than it is at this point. Some finishing touches. It's quite wet, so I think I'm just going to dab that down. Take the excess moisture away with some paper towel. Then you can just use your heat towel to go heat tool to just go over that too. You only need to colour one of the flowers. You're layering them, but you only need to have one coloured in. So I've just added my Lucky Clover to the medium matte, and I'm going to do the leaves. You never know, I might even get it on in shot in a moment. And a little bit of the mustard seed for the centre of the flower. Obviously wanted to go over that a little bit more, but you can't tell. Ta-da, I realised. So just again, same process, fill in those leaves, colour wash, and then we can go back over and add some definition. Again, not worried about going over the lines. Doing this pretty quickly, so You can take your time a bit more. Picking up some more of that stronger colour to go over the leaves, veins on the leaves. Now it's time to fussy cut. So my top tip with fussy cutting is to let the scissors do the work. You're going to be moving your scissors all the way around. So you're moving the scissors and not the card. You're just going in and out. Just following those lines. Keep your scissors moving. Let the paper follow the scissors, not the other way around. Keep it moving. An image like this is quick. So, first flower. The second flower we are not colouring in. I'm just going to sandwich those with, I'm just drying it off a little bit more, sandwich them with foam pads. Make it pop a little bit more. And just layer your flowers up. And you can just lift the edges of that flower as well to just make it have a bit more dimension again. And that's your flower. So I'm just going to do the same to the leaf. Just need to be a bit more careful obviously because we might cut that stem off. Again, we're moving the scissors around, we're not moving the card. I'll just do one. And you'll notice that I am leaving a little bit of a border. That's absolutely fine. I do have arthritis in my hands, so it's not something I would spend hours doing, fussy cutting, but I do like it. I do a little bit of it. There's not always a die or a punch. And there you go, you would just add your leaf underneath like that. You've already popped your flower up, so for when you're assembling your card, you'll only need to add some glue. So with this one, well, the sentiments like to go a bit wiggly. So just moving those scissors around. I don't want straight lines, I want a little bit of interest added to that sentiment. Makes it a bit more forgiving as well. So just keep it moving, and then you've got soft lines rather than hard lines that look like you've made a mistake. Just softly. And you can ink around the edges as well, that's pretty. And that's how you do your sentiment and your fussy cutting on your flower and leaves. A quick reminder of the finished card. There we go, it's on camera. I added some sequins to that. And that's all of them. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's been really good fun.